Well, first of all, let me say that we don't use the term illegal immigrants. I actually issued a policy in the Department of Homeland Security. We use the term non-citizen to respect the dignity of every individual as a preliminary matter.
And I can't find a seconder usually when I promote this, but I don't care. I don't need a seconder. My own opinion is enough for me, and I claim the right to have it defended against any consensus, any majority, anywhere, any place, any time. And anyone who disagrees with this, can pick a number, get online, and kiss my ass.
A representation is made that the quality of legal services to be performed are greater than the legal services provided by other lawyers. I'm Harry Steele. You found the Backstory Podcast. I have Mr. Rip in studio with Rip Report.
Glad to be here. Sorry I missed number 100, but here I am at 101. So,
Mr. Russian, how's things in Houston?
Oh, yeah. It's a beautiful day here. It's a high of 72 degrees, and it's absolutely beautiful.
There's not a cloud in the sky here.
It's a beautiful day.
Absolutely.
So let's play which is the bigger news story. That this laptop is real? That remember how we've been talking about the Federal Trade Commission?
Right.
And what their purview was and all that?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like Facebook's been overpaying to keep him off his neck.
$5 billion?
How do you overpay a regulatory agency $5 billion range?
$5 billion.
Because you basically got a great group of people that do nothing but figure out how to keep your ass off the wire.
Right.
And they have smaller cells of great groups of people like me that execute operations like that to make problems go away.
Okay, so
And
how...
if Facebook's the only one doing it, that's you're wrong there.
Okay, well, this laptop thing, I mean, we were worried we might get kicked off Facebook for talking about it because it was supposedly disinformation. And it turns out it's all real.
Well, what makes you think it's real now? I haven't kept up with it.
Oh, you know what makes him think it's real, Paul?
What?
It was published in the New York Post, which is like basically the Bugle and the Clarion and the Bible for Harry Steele.
Oh, now,
Fucking
come on.
New
You know
York
I'm well read.
Do you get that at the cash register?
But apparently this is the biggest story in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't get me
Really?
started on Gabby Petito.
Really sad.
Don't you do it.
Sad.
Yep. Oh, and there's no way this guy's hiding out in those damn swamps.
Oh, he's hiding out somewhere.
No, he got on a sailboat, and his parents said, somebody took his cell phone down there. Seriously doubt it.
Let me. You want my 12 seconds of
Yes.
where he is?
Yes.
I'll tell you where he is. This guy got out of a bad relationship, and he told Crazy hit the road, and he drove home. And Crazy got what Crazy gets in a lot of ways. She probably got in a truck with somebody, and that's the end of her. He gets home, it breaks into a shit show. Mom and Dad say, you know what? Here's 20 grand. Get out of here. We'll handle this. He is gone pecan, son. He hasn't been in the United States for weeks and weeks and weeks. And nobody's ever going to find him. Oh, he left his cell phone in his wallet. Oh, God.
Exactly.
I don't know what happened to him.
Yep.
If it was my kid that got hemmed up in some bullshit like that, but my son's already getting it the right way. He's already getting taught in the head. He goes, if she's pretty and she's white, stay away, son. If you're gonna, if you want to croak a girl and disappear out in the woods somewhere, date a minority.
Oh, my God.
Okay, date a Native American girl because they don't even pick up the phone when you report them missing. I hope everybody's getting my underlying.
Unfortunately, that's true.
That is true.
So we can't get the 3.4 trillion package passed, but Shelby says we'll have a funding bill without a debt limit increase. You believe that?
I do, because it's eminently doable, and the government shutdown thing is a political thing, and always has been, always will be.
Yeah,
you could pass
Agreed.
a funding bill back. I mean, it's the United States. It's a U.S. government. We could literally just throw numbers on a wall and say that's what the numbers are now, and everybody's like, okay, cool, because our economy is such a joke. You know, you want to pass our budget? Great, just add a 0. Vote, yay. Budget continues. When they shut the government down, it's political.
That's the Tuberville plan.
Yeah.
So House Republicans file impeachment articles against Biden, and this is over the border crisis and Afghanistan.
Absolutely.
Not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
But they filed them.
No, just they file them every week against the president, because, you know, when Trump was president, we had people filing impeachment articles like as soon as they could get them to the House Records Office.
Right.
You know, and people did the same thing against Bush and Obama and everything else. They're, you know, they don't get any teeth till they call a hearing.
Right.
So, Paul, you'll like this. The Fourth Circuit voided a federal law that said you had to be 21 to purchase a handgun. You know, how old were you when they gave you a automatic weapon?
19.
Right.
19.
So, anyway, there's still some sanity left. So, we talked about this last week. You weren't here, Paul. Meemaw has called a special session of the legislature.
Oh, for the prison.
And she wouldn't have called this thing unless she knew she had the votes. So
That's exactly right.
hide and watch.
Is this on the prisons?
Yes.
And
Yes.
no indication that they're going to bring up the lottery at the same time?
Okay, well, I don't want them to. If they're going to have a special session on the lottery and gaming and all that, then they need to say so.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know that you can do that without notice. But this thing's a done deal.
You can call up anything during a special session. However, it's Robert's Rules of Order prevails, and when certain things are on the table, you can call them up, but you can't vote on them.
That we have so many constitutional amendments that have to do with anything that is a tax must be anyway. You can't do it in a special session. I promise you. And not have
I was going to say, I would hate
to
to be the Senate parliament, the House parliamentarian right now.
They might be able to set up a commission,
gaveling down everybody
to set up a exploratory commission like they did on the medical marijuana thing.
Yeah.
That might be the way to go, and figure out how not to F it up like New Jersey and some of these other places. So
right, you can't vote on action during a special session except what the special session was called for.
I want to point this out a couple of times during the podcast. Pain pills prescriptions fell, but opioid deaths increased. Now, you tell me, Paul, if people aren't getting opioids from their doctor, where, pray tell, are they getting them?
Street.
Fentanyl laced, whatever.
Yeah.
Who knows what they're
It's always so fancy when somebody uses the term "pray tell."
So, you missed this. Mike Hubbard has asked for his sentence to be reduced. He wants out now.
Right.
And I would normally say this is a bunch of bullcrap. This is never going to happen. But it's kind of like Meemaw calling the special session. He wouldn't have asked if the fix wasn't in.
Let me tell you, I absolutely predicted this.
Yep.
Absolutely predicted this on one of our earlier shows. I said he'll
When
be
he
out.
finally went to jail.
Yeah, finally get him in jail. Now he's getting out early.
So this guy's getting sent. I think he got sentenced today. I'll find out if he did. I'll throw it up.
And that was on what?
The Lee County District Attorney had asked the judge to spare him jail time. Guess who his judge is?
Who?
Same one as this guy's. Bashab.
Yeah, Limestone County's, as the kids say, turned right now. Paul, that's the DA who's accused of basically running his DA's office like a fraternity house. There was people getting spanked over desks and cocaine in the bathroom and everything else.
Oh, my God.
So anyhow, the Sheriff Blakely, the longest serving sheriff in Alabama history, I guess, since 1983? That's a long time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's now cooling his heels in the Franklin County Jail. And
you think the Limestone County administrator just comes to work every day and just opens the bottle that he keeps at his desk pours him a stiff one to start the day. It's like, you know what?
It's a she.
I'm here for it, folks. That's why I make the money.
I know it's a she, and she doesn't drink.
Oh God, she might now.
She might turn to substances. Who knows? So here's another one going to the pokey. Lynette Mayor Jonathan Kyle McCoy was immediately removed from office upon his guilty plea that he gave use of a city vehicle to a relative, and then basically didn't pay his water bill and told him not to turn his water off.
Now think about that. Think about what you're talking about there, and then look at what the executive director of the Ethics Commission has been doing with this trust.
Oh, we'll get
in
to
Connecticut County, and no one's done anything yet.
But, have you ever been to Lynette, Alabama?
No.
Okay, it's a little logging town,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a caution light and one gas station right there at the main intersection of two, state highways or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, I thought we'd do some, this keeps popping up in my Twitter feed, so I thought I'd just share it with everybody, a free promo for the new Super Hornet F-18 Block 3. Familiar with this piece of equipment?
No. Nope.
Rains?
I am. It's the next gen interceptor for the U.S. Navy, and Boeing has done a fantastic job with this weapons platform.
Hey, is a pilot co-pilot? One in front, one in back.
Yes, you run a radar. So
you have a weapons operator,
radar operator, electronic warfare operator. But the F-18 is it's one of the few times in military history where it is exactly what it is supposed to be. The F-18 is the interceptor. That's what they send. That's what carriers send out to intercept bombers and intercept aircraft. And it is a fantastic platform for it. And they made the new Top Gun with F-18s, just so you know.
Huh.
If that doesn't sell it to you, I don't know what else.
Yeah. When's that turd coming out?
It comes out in October? Or maybe Christmas. I don't know.
When's Dune coming out? Man, it's like taking forever. When's Dune coming out?
Dune's out in 3 weeks, man. Gird your loins.
So, are you guys familiar with the Alabama Freedom of Online Speech Act?
No.
It's been sponsored by Senator Orr, championed by Steve Marshall, and if you have been deplatformed in Alabama, you can now go to the Attorney General's website and fill out a complaint form.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you where does it go?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait until it goes live. I'm going to fill out about 100 of them a day.
They file those in the bathroom.
It's up right now. This is just a snapshot of their website.
Social media complaint. Now that's
watchers, people, listeners that are paying attention to our deal, take the time today and go fill one of those out. I don't even care what for. I don't care if you're on the right side of it, the left side of it, and the center. Fill out as many of those as you can. If you're sitting at home, got nothing to do, you got an hour to kill, fill out about 25 of those things. I want that server to just be clogged. I want us to drop so many deuces in that toilet that the septic tank just overflows and they shut it down.
I'm sure they have 3 assistant attorney generals sitting at a computer reading every single one of them as soon as they come in.
The file cabinets in the bathroom.
Great resources. Great use of resources. So federal agents raid North Alabama special effects business. This sounds like some Rains Russian bullshit right here.
Really? Oh my God.
Did you swat some poor guy in the FX business, Rains?
Well, there's a fine line between illegal bomb-making operation and special effects business.
Army Criminal Investigation Division.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a very fine line. If you ever watched Mythbusters, remember the show Mythbusters? What a great show that was.
Right.
If you look, they had just buckets and trays and well organized of everything you could possibly imagine to blow something up. And people say, oh, they do all this amazing stuff, and special effects places make amazing effects. But there's a real fine line legally between
they working for
explosives
the
development area and special effects shop.
Well, anyway, we'll keep our eye on that one.
Just right.
So President Biden urged those eligible for the COVID-19 booster shot to get them. You know, he didn't get his Pfizer approval for a booster for everybody, so he turned around and bought 300 million shots to send out globally.
Yeah. I
In
don't know the
USA.
number.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, it had to be a payday for Pfizer.
I got
Did you
the
see what the
booster.
Dow
You
did
know-
today?
I got the booster.
Harry, I gotta speak to that. Buying shots and having them stockpiled and ready to go can either be very good or very bad. Because I have a cousin who, back in the day, was at Club La Vila in Panama City, and he bought a round of shots for the house. And when his wife opened the credit card bill, he got divorced. So be careful about who you buy shots for, is all I'm saying.
Right. So ICU beds. So here's a hair-raising statistic, Mr. Rip. Alabama population on course to shrink for the first time ever because of opioid overdoses and COVID-19. How about that?
Wow.
Can we put that in a little bit of perspective?
Sure.
Real quick. This is a fantastic example of using political spin to push forward an agenda. And I want everybody to understand that. I'm not saying that I'm for it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm saying this is a fantastic way for people to legitimize political spin. The Alabama population is on course to shrink for the first time ever because of myriad problems. Myriad problems. If you read the article, because I actually looked at that, and to read the article, it says, well, you know, we're facing overwhelming COVID deaths and we're facing overwhelming opioid deaths, and that's contributing to a decline in our population. They don't mention drunk driving. They don't mention heart attacks. They don't mention cancer. They don't mention any of those things, which are all contributing to the downfall. It's a general lack of public health services and education in the state of Alabama that leads to population shrinkage. So just when you read
Or
something
most
like
of
that,
those of
understand-
us who get educated get the hell out.
I mean, yes and no. The figures that they're using are actual death statistics, not migratory. But it's just such an example of political spin motivating something. Even reports coming from your government. So keep a heads up on that.
Well, here's another heads up. Death toll just surpassed the 1918 flu, which of course killed more soldiers than died in combat in World War One.
Okay. No, but
That's the stat I heard.
Well,
So-
it's a stat, but it's a misleading stat. It killed more soldiers than they're talking about. It killed more people than combat did.
Right.
Because disease generally killed more people in World War I, tenfold more than bullets did.
Trench foot.
Yeah.
So 100 deaths a day, Paul, in Alabama.
Well, I don't know where the beds are now, but it was totally full like a week ago.
Still is.
Mississippi's worse, so
42.6 million infected with 684,613 deaths. My ear's still ringing.
the deaths.
So
did
check
slow
out
down.
this map, Rains. Notice how Tennessee has. It looks to me like better reporting. You think that's legitimate, or is that where a highway runs?
I think it's legitimate, but it's if you can believe it, the population densities in those areas is even smaller than most of the counties in Alabama.
Really?
And
Yeah.
where you see the big population concentrations, it's not so bad. So it's a little bit misleading, but it's still very serious. If you look, I mean, the population centers are Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, and there's maybe 4 other semi-large cities in the state of Tennessee, but most of those counties are rural counties.
Well, I can promise I'm
And
not
the
going
ones-
to Tennessee anytime soon. Looking at that map,
I've been to Tennessee twice
Or Tallahassee.
in my entire life. I've got no reason to ever go back.
that's a cool place, man. I love Tennessee.
I do not.
So last week, this week, last week, this week.
Last week was how many deaths? 7.
7 for this
This
week.
week.
So, did you know they canceled the National Shrimp Festival?
Yep.
And then Mayor Kennan decided that they're putting on a Freedom Festival to be free from vaccines or masks or
And
government
where's that gonna-
regulation in
is
Orange
that-
Beach.
Is that going to be at the new club location thing that they came up
John
with?
McInnes's,
Right.
it ain't ready yet.
Oh no,
ready.
but I mean they got the land.
And Fauci says don't go to a sports stadium. How many people were at the Florida game?
All of them.
70,000.
Okay.
All of them.
And so the CDC chief overrules the panel, says at-risk workers need booster shots. So all of your healthcare workers, if you got Pfizer or Moderna, roll up your sleeve. You're about to get a booster.
That's another New York Post misleading headline. The vote that I talked about in last week's podcast says that at-risk workers and at-risk people, they did vote for them to get shots. It was for people under the age of 16 that they voted against. So good job, New York Post. Again.
Again.
All right, Raines, you got to love this. So who all got subpoenas? Have you been keeping your eyes on that?
Yeah, I'm not going to say yet, but I can tell you right now that executive privilege is gone.
Yeah.
The executive privilege is gone. The Biden White House is not going to invoke executive privilege for these subpoenas, and they are going to allow everything to come out of the White House. I know for a fact that Mark Meadows and Steve Bannon have been served, and I guess the New York Times is on it. But so Danny Scavino and Kash Patel. Kash Patel's a communications guy.
Right.
Danny Scavino, everybody knows who he is. And they're going to be, those are the big four that everybody was looking forward to. There's some others that are going to be served with subpoenas as well. They're going to be a little surprising. But don't be surprised if you're that shining beacon of freedom in the state of Alabama, if Mo Brooks isn't hiding under his desk at every knock at the door right now.
I bet. That
So
could push Katie Britt out front.
I thought this was quite hilarious. China draws up a list of 100 instances of U.S. interference in Hong Kong. I mean, I would have thought every other day we'd be interfering in Hong Kong.
Yeah, it's not shocking at all. That's,
No, I didn't think so.
Really.
Have that active intelligence working in Hong Kong.
Everybody's
since Hong
in
Kong became Hong Kong. So ever since the British lost it to the Japanese, we've had somebody working in Hong Kong for our interests.
So you were in Colorado last week, and Raines and I talked about what was going on at the border with all the Haitians that showed up.
Right.
And so, of course, the New York Post has covered it pretty well. So I used a lot of their photographs, and it says that Haitians are being released into the U.S., and then there's others that show accusing border agents of whipping migrants, and that they've been put on desk duty.
Yeah, that's pretty horrific. I was pretty upset about that, but then I hate the Border Patrol to begin with. They're like they're just the blue light special of federal law enforcement. So.
I'll tell you what, too, the way they handle those horses, you can really get hurt. I saw some people get seriously hurt with police in Bourbon Street one time with horses.
So the
They just
migrant
charged
camp
into the-
has been raised.
I'm not allowed to talk about horses on Bourbon Street.
All right.
And Biden vowed that those agents will pay.
Yeah, those guys are going to be internet podcasters pretty soon.
Right.
Maxine Waters says treatment of Haitian migrants worse than slavery. I think she needs to read a history book. Al Sharpton heckled during his presser at the migrant camp. Guess he didn't get the warm welcome he thought he was going to get.
Heckled by who?
Heckled by everybody.
Everybody.
Oh.
Because you can't, even Al Sharpton has to know, after all of his years of professional activism, you can't just show up and try to grab a photo op on the backs of a bunch of migrants.
Yeah.
Horseshit.
Exactly.
That was a bad move on his part.
Okay, so in response, DHS secretary came out and said we don't use the term illegal immigrant anymore. We use the term non-citizen.
That's nothing new.
Yeah.
They've been doing that for
A
years. Paul.
simpler, gentler. All of the Border Patrol horses are slated for the back of the stamps. No longer be used.
It's always a quick switch when something happens. Paul, you were in country when the Department of Defense said we're no longer use the term search and destroy.
Yeah.
We're going to change it to sweep and clear.
Right. Right. Okay. All right.
So Daniel Foote,
That's what I call golf course decisions.
Exactly.
first rat off the ship. The Haitian ambassador resigned.
Yeah, he's had it.
But, in perspective,
Man, you are dead on the New York Post. You need to get off that some.
Who knew?
I mean, this guy's obviously has an image problem. If she can take a photo like that.
He doesn't look like an image problem. That's a fearsome looking son of a bitch. He
Really?
looks like he
Son
belongs
of a
on a
bitch is
poster
right.
in the post office. That's exactly what he's going for.
So guess what local news is talking about, Paul?
What's that?
All of the people that have been shot recently by law enforcement.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
well, we can
There's a
follow-
spike in
following-
it. There's a spike, a noticeable spike.
Yeah.
3 shootings in that. I don't know if y'all see the number of casings, but there's 71.
Oh, this is the is this
Right
a-
up here from
yeah,
the house.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Who wrote this article?
So Debbie Williams, it's a news story on TV.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Well,
and of
there's
course,
a couple of lawsuits.
some of them
following.
seemed justified.
Praise the
Listen.
Lord, and pass the ammunition.
You start shooting 70 rounds at somebody. Come on, man. And the guy never got a round off, never saw a fight, never shot. Give me a break.
It wide earped his ass, man.
Really?
In the meantime, are y'all familiar with Section 1033? It says that
Very.
military surplus can be given to law enforcement, and then Obama rolled it back, so
Right.
couldn't give them tanks and
Right.
shit.
I remember that.
And so now we got all these drones that we don't have any use for, and we're afraid that technology might be transferred down to the sheriffs and these other ne'er-do-wells to do with, if you why not task the drone to follow your ex-girlfriend around if you're the DA and have a
how
party
come we
house
have-
for a
So these are military surveillance drones that are being discontinued?
right, but just like when I was in Conecuh County, the sheriff got a Huey helicopter with 1 million hours on it, but it was free. Yeah. And, instead, I guess they could look for Brittany Woods if they get one.
Yep.
So,
I need one, too.
in other news, have you seen this? It's terrifying. They charged this son of a bitch with attempted murder. He was working in the jail and did some Gitmo shit.
What?
Like damn near strangled a guy. Yeah, a cop,
Oh,
Creola police officer,
that does seem to be a lot of...
Gary Davis. We'll keep up with him. Mo Brooks, Katie Britt News. She was down here yesterday.
Oh, really?
She stopped in Conecuh County and got some sausage or whatever.
I wonder if she talked to Mr. Albritton about that money thing he's got going there.
I don't-
She got a daughter who might want a scholarship,
I think her kids are little, aren't they?
Yeah.
All right, so Paul, give me some lanyard.
Well, first of all, I love the cover of Lanyap this week. Get your free Lanyap anywhere at some of the newsstands, but it's got the state crustacean and reptile and bird and butterfly and the state gemstone, which is the star blue quartz. That was a new one on me. But anyway,
What's the state fish?
state fish is...
He only asked because he knows and you don't.
Right. Fighting tarpon. The fighting tarpon, that's kind of weird that that'd be the state fish. But anyway, one of the article is by Gabe Times called Puzzle Pieces. Legislature begins to the Seminole reapportionment redistricting process. One of the things that I thought was interesting is talk about the 2020 census. Growth was led in Alabama by Huntsville, Auburn, suburbs of Birmingham, Montgomery, and Mobile. To the surprise of no one, Baldwin County led the state with a 27% increase in population from 185,000
Hey, how much did our
265.
sewage infrastructure grow during that same period?
Well, this data is used for a number of purposes, and it's steer federal funding for schools, hospitals, and etc. But now we're over 231,000, so that's showing you just how fast Baldwin County is growing. Good article if you want to read up on it in Lagniappe. Another one is Flushed Out. This is a lawsuit that was brought by the state against the city of Fairhope, much the same as the one that a couple of years ago was in Daphne. And it's the settlement in the sewer lawsuit about how much that they have been dumping into the bay, which was approximately 1 million gallons and over 99 different complaints. This dates back in federal to the Tim Kant days, and the main reason being is that they never put any money into infrastructure, kept kicking the can down the road, so by the time they got to about 2015 or 2016, there was no way. There were so many complaints coming about discharges into the bay that they filed the lawsuit. Now, the one thing that I see that I really like, and I think they should have been doing this a long time ago, is it is now going to be mandatory, and they're required to put out a statement to the general public when these spills occur and how it is not safe to enter the water. The discharge point is not far from the city pier, and there's many accounts of people with cuts and scratches that get in there and get infections. I wouldn't swim in the bay there, to tell you the truth. Another Lagniappe is Step It Up. Local officials ask AlDOT to study a comprehensive bridge solution. This is by Gabe Times. Those of you who've been following it, Sandy Simpson and good old boy Jack Burrell have been the one leading the charge to try to get this bridge. They had a 3-phase plan. Now they're trying to roll it into 1 phase. And your children will be graduated from college, married, and have children before that bridge is built. Guarantee you. Rising Tide national publication finds the University of Alabama officials among the highest paid. This is by Rob Holbert. Rob's been writing a series of articles on, just what some people are being paid. And like in 2017, Chancellor Ray Hayes was paid $578,437 according to UA online payroll records. In St. John's first year, 2020 payroll records show he made $854,000 plus $75,000 for housing, another $12,000 for a car. So that put him at $942,000. And in 2020, it went up to $1,033,000. That's a lot of money. Former athletic director Bill Battle was making nearly $721 a year when he retired in 2017. But anyway, we are the top paying, it seems. So if you want to read that article, it's pretty extensive. Rising Tide by Rob Holbert. And then we have The Vax Wars, written by Ashley Trice, and it's talking about the vaccines. There's another one about the vaccines, Ivy's Mandate Defiance, and the predictable narrow-minded reaction by Jeff Poor. Both of these are just going over the COVID thing again and again and again, and the resistance not getting the vaccination. So I don't know what the ultimate outcome is going to be. interesting article by Rob Holbert, too, about Will Herman Thomas support backfire in 25. This is Mr. Thomas, if you remember, was the judge that was
Spanking judge.
Spanking.
There's a hanging judge
spanking
and a spanking judge in Mobile.
Spanking inmates and having sex with them as well. That's what I call a friendly judge for sure. But let's see what else there is. Lagniapp's also got a podcast. Any of you that like to follow the podcast, Lagniapp's got a podcast as well, so you can catch them up on there. And let's see, next thing I got the Rip Report. In the Rip Report this week, I write about faux hope, F-A-U-X, hope. And one of the things that in Fairhope that's happening right now is over a year ago they have got the waterfront project started. It was $6.2 million for it. And it got political during the election, unfortunately, and it's completely sidetracked. But for over a year now, they've been arguing over the ADA compliance of the parks. And when the very first meeting, the very first publications about that waterfront project were the two points of the project were to stabilize the bank, some people like to call it a bluff, but the cutout bank from previous construction, and also ADA compliance. Those were mandatory. That's what the basis of the grant was. And they have spent over a year arguing and trying to circumvent that use, and people complained to the grant holders, and they came back and told them, you are going to do this with ADA compliance or you're not going to get the money. So now they're backpedaling on that. And, the other thing so that's in a RIP report, and then I go over a lot of other different things that are going sideways. But one of the things that I wanted to point out to people that this got by Harry and I both is this this municipal election roll up, the way that they have done. SB, I can't remember the SB number now, but it's where they extended the
terms of everyone in office.
I wouldn't go so far as to say that got past me and Harry, Paul. We kind of addressed it hard.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't see it. I swear I didn't see that. But anyway, if you got good leadership, it may be a good change. But if you got bad leadership, bad people in office, you're going to give them an extra year and nobody's voted on it. I don't see how that.
Steve Marshall can remove them.
Right. And then one of the other stories I saw that I covered is the acquisition by the city of Fairhope for the Walmart property, which is about 12 acres. And this is exactly like what they did at Publix. They're acquiring liability, but Walmart told them that they'd give them the land if they built a police station there. And the reason that they have to have a police station there is because so many people are stealing that they have to have police there the whole time it's open. It's just ridiculous. But catch the RIP Report, ripreport.com. That'll be out later today. And one of the other things I saw, Harry, that I thought interesting was the Baldwin County Commission's work session. They had a meeting agenda, and I was just scanning through the agenda. And BJ1 is extension of memorandums of understanding with Hughes Funeral Home and Mack Funeral Home for Baldwin County Coroner's Office. Now, this is the Sheriff Mack. So Sheriff Mack is getting a contract from the county, and no one sees that as a conflict of interest.
On behalf of the coroner who works for him at Mack Funeral Home.
Right. I mean, my God. I don't know what it takes for someone. I mean, some of the commissioners should have asked each other, okay, is this a conflict of interest? Should we do this? Nope, they didn't do it. They just voted for it to go through. They don't see it as a conflict of interest. So get on the bandwagon. That's about it that I was going to cover, Harry. Like I said, catch us on ripreport.com. or Lagniappe or Lagniappe Podcast, and have a real good weekend.
So you can go to the Baldwin County Commission website and go to their agendas and actually watch the video of this meeting. I would encourage you to do that. And one of the things that came up was a reauthorization of all of the contracts for the 10 individuals that work directly for the 4 part-time county commissioners. Mm-hmm. They don't report to the county administrator. So the guy running the rural transportation service, he reports directly to the commission. The county engineer directly to the commission. The pick a department, solid waste, the landfill directly to the EMA. And so anyway, all I can say is Baldwin County is run the way Frank Burt thought it should be run, not the way anybody, from an organizational development standpoint would have ever set this thing up.
That started in 2010. That's 2010. Significant year in Baldwin County.
You gonna see open and accountable government. Just hide and watch. And what happened for the next 10 years?
2010 got us all sideways, and we ended up with Elliott. Let's hope we can get him out next time.
Dorsey, James,
right,
Burt. So, City Council President McKenzie died. Did y'all know that? Mobile?
Manzi? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I haven't heard anything bad about the gentleman either.
Ed Seafood Shed had a small grease fire that was contained to the kitchen.
Yeah, a small grease fire that burned.
That's what I saw on the.
aisle.
That's what I saw on the news. It said it was a small grease fire, and then I saw this picture, and I was like, well, I don't know about that.
That's a lot of grease.
It's not possible in any of the Causeway seafood shacks. It's impossible to have a small grease fire because you got to understand their fryers are like 90% of their kitchen. So if a fryer goes up, it's like losing reactor coolant. You know, there's no good ending there.
You know, I had a furniture factory in Belize, and so the damn thing burnt down in the middle of a rainstorm, and electrical and lightning hit it. So when they did the investigation, one of the fire marshals said, well, that I had flammables in the plant. I was making furniture. I said, what in the hell, man? So it's kind of like that grease fire. If it goes up, baby, it goes up. You got varnish, shellac, clear, all those flammables, you know.
Well, they said we shall return.
Yeah,
they will rebuild.
People who watch this podcast regularly. Let me just throw a little endorsement out there for one of our esteemed contributors. Paul Ripp is a source of never-ending intrigue to me because it never fails that we could be talking about something ridiculously obscure and Paul's going to whip out something we never knew. Oh, well, I own 2 brothels in Belize, or as a matter of fact, I had a quarter interest in a microchip processing facility in Belize years ago, way ahead of the curve. And you're always like, what? Paul, what? How have you never told us about this before?
I have a story.
At one point, I was the director of the Anti-Human Trafficking Commission in Belize.
So the
man for all men of all times, ladies and gentlemen.
Infamous.
So the hemp farmers are concerned that the government has set up a commission, and it, you know, just like every other regulation, it's going to be a bunch of bullshit and not worth their time.
Right. And
essentially.
And do you know where this is happening too? Just speaking of Belize.
Paul says, I have a hemp farm in Belize.
This is exactly what's happening in Belize. I swear. It's almost the same thing. But, you know, when I was in Colorado last week, I just out of curiosity, you know, I went to one of those shops. I was absolutely amazed. I'm going like, well, I was, okay, let's see. That was Estes Park. I was in Estes Park, Colorado. Well, Estes Park is a small tourist community, and they elected not to have any dispensaries there, right? So I'm talking to one of the waitresses, and I said, well, this being a tourist town, I said, well, what happens? And she said, oh, well, you can go 20 miles down the road, and they have 3 dispensaries in that town. and the amount of taxes that they were bringing in was 15 times what some of the other little communities
That's like these
around
dry
there.
counties
It's
that we had in
completely
Alabama
crazy.
for years. It was
Completely,
stupid.
it's exactly like that. That's
And
exactly what
Connecticut
it's like.
County was wet, and there were only 14,000 people there. We had 18 liquor stores all around the perimeter of the county. Everybody driving there to get there. So John McMillan's going to be heading that commission. Hopefully he'll get that worked out. You missed a couple of things. So, malls,
Yeah, I saw that.
they're using herbicides
That should make you feel
to
good.
kill the invasive species of lily pad that's clogging up the drinking water works. Completely, so it's like Roundup. You can bathe it, right? That's what they told us for years, unless you got leukemia.
They have a tractor cultivator that is amphibious and can run in these ponds and stuff to pick all this up. I saw it on YouTube or something. Pretty ingenious.
Yeah, or a guy with a rake.
Yeah, right.
A guy with a rake could get it off. Anything but putting chemicals on it.
Right.
Golly.
Who
So-
was it that did the black ball solution? What city did that? Was it Chicago? Where they were black rubber balls and they put like 1 million of them in the river or in their reservoir, and it denied sunlight to all the things growing in it, and it completely wiped out their invasive species problem.
Oh, that's cool.
And they're like, okay, great. And then they held a contest to see who can catch the most black rubber balls to clean it up. It was like the ultimate Tom Sawyer solution. That's brilliant. That's better than pesticide.
Yeah, we'll leave it to malls. And we covered this, and the Tennessee River Keepers are going to sue Huntsville over their sewage overflows. And so Southern Exposure Film Fellowship is premiering a couple of different documentaries, and one of them has Cade Kistler. He's been on here with us
right.
before from
Yeah.
Mobile Baywatcher, and it's called Wastewater, A Tale of Two Cities. Mobile is one of those cities, so you guys might want to check it out. It's all about infrastructure. So Raines, the ship channel here, sedimentation coming down the river, erosion, any number of things can cause it to silt in. So every once in a while, they have to come in here and dredge it. And there's an island that you can see off in front of the battleship where they put the spoilage, right?
Right.
So the new plan is to go up here, other side of the port, and build a series of man-made wetland out of the spoilage.
That's a fantastic plan. I love that plan.
Well,
I read
okay,
about
so
it 2 weeks ago, and I think it's a fantastic plan.
so here's where the Alabama River used to go, and you see what they did right there.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah,
cut it. They
like the
cut it
spoil
here. See all the spoilage area up there? That's actually elevated. It's like a big old wall of sand. And
It's self-dewatering, they call it. Self-dewatering.
well, this
for you.
area right here, see that horseshoe pond right there? That's elevated also. And anyway, I'm not telling exactly where that is because that's a good duck hunting spot. But that shows you where we are in relation to everywhere else and around here. So the general fund swelled 19.2%. It's the largest budget that they've ever passed. Second largest budget. $209 million. And they got all their department heads reporting directly to the commission. That's pretty effective, don't you think?
And they meet twice a month. How's that work?
Can't tell if you're joking.
So Escambia County is dismantling their sector plan guide for growth. So in Florida, every county has to have a comprehensive plan. And if they want to go further than that, they can do one of these sector plans. And, of course, the first little development that came along that they didn't want to comply with it, they decided to deviate from it.
Well,
Yep.
talking
Bullshit.
about comprehensive plans, that's another one that Faux Hope is doing. I've been in 3 of those comprehensive plans, and the one thing I can tell you is that the biggest violator of the comprehensive plan is the city of Fairhope itself.
Well, let me throw this out there right quick. If Harry and you, above all people, should already know this. If there's any group of people in the Florida Panhandle that know what they're doing, it's the people that are developing and regulating Pensacola.
Yeah.
And the Escambia County plan is being rejected because it's not a good plan for their development. And honestly, I feel like Escambia County should be its own country and just kind of cut itself off from the panhandle of Florida and join with like the counties south of Lake Okeechobee. You know?
Dixie County.
Those guys really do. Those guys really do know what they're doing. That administration in Pensacola, if you want to look at historically how they've managed their growth
Yeah.
and how they've managed the infrastructure of their city, that's been a teamwork effort, and it's going. I mean, look at Pensacola. Pensacola is still. It hasn't fallen by the wayside. It didn't end up like the Catskills. You know, it is completely evolved into being this tourist mecca because they know what side of the bread they're buttered.
It's also a
Right.
good
And
place
they
to
know
get mugged, shot, and it's full of homeless people.
Parts of it, but that's true with all port cities.
I'm speaking about Escambia County in general.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
they know what they're doing,
pretty
and
good economy.
they use smart growth. So I'm not going to start building the crucifixion crosses just because they changed their comprehensive plan.
Okay, well, the last time they did something, anyway. They
The
have a history of corruption.
The Fair Hope Comprehensive Plan is designed to facilitate the developers.
Yeah.
Of course
Yeah.
it is. No word back on the Tom Albritton writ of mandamus.
Yeah, like nothing's happened, man. It's the executive director of the Ethics Commission, a judge, lawyers, bank, all self-dealing themselves with a trust, and no one says a word yet. Well, now the bar has turned us down. Ethics has turned us down, so it makes you wonder what kind of ethics we got. But not the end of the story, folks. Watch and see.
So there was an election on Tuesday, and the people in this little district here have decided to increase their property taxes by 3 mills.
Yep.
Like by 50 votes?
16
votes.
16 votes determined the 3 mil tax. And there's not real hard data that the tax was needed at all. All you got to do is say schools.
And there was less than 1,700 total votes in that election.
1,700 votes. So we get what we vote for.
1687 was the vote count.
Yeah.
So Reigns, they going to get Chris Cuomo?
Nope. He's a paragon of virtue.
2005.
That's what I got said. They're digging up bones, man.
I was going to say, this goes back to
let me put this on.
2005.
It was so long ago that chick was hot.
Yeah, I was going to say 2005. I don't even know where the hell I was.
Let me
in
put something
2000.
in perspective for you. I saw this earlier this week, and I thought it was perfect. You guys know how I like to use historic timelines
Yeah,
to illustrate certain parts of history.
right.
So this week, all right, in 1993, the movie Dazed and Confused came out. Remember Dazed and Confused?
Right.
One of the greatest movies of our time, right? That movie came out in 1993, and it was set in, 1976?
Sounds right.
If they made that movie today, just to give you an idea of timelines, if they made that movie today and made it about that period of time long ago, it would be set in 2005.
Wow.
That's how long ago 2005 is. Gonna go get a sixer and hang out at the pinball arcade, you know?
Well, the title is Chris Cuomo accused of sexually harassing his former boss. Well, if she was his boss at the time and he sexually harassed her, why did she fire him? You know,
Knowing the New York Post, she may have been the head of concessions at a convention place in Newark where he worked as a teenager. God, there's no telling.
All right.
So, you remember this?
Yep. Iron Dome.
Right. So, do you know what happened yesterday?
We subsidized it for a further $1 billion.
Wow. $1 billion?
Yeah.
What's $1 billion here and $1 billion there, huh?
Yeah, pretty soon you're talking about real money, right?
Right.
All right, guys. Got one more for you, Paul.
What's that?
Don't take your kids to the zoo. Unless you wanted to explain what cunnilingus is.
Oh my God!
Oh, and by the way, that's 2 male gorillas.
Oh, that's a whole new thing there.
Just in case you missed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass for comments on that.
Rains, I'm gonna let you have this one. The Guardian uniform.
I think they look fantastic because I watched the movie Patton last night
Yeah.
when I was up late. And if you've seen the movie that won like more Oscars than The Greatest Story Ever Told, George C. Scott sitting at a desk and he's explaining to Omar Bradley that he wants designed a tanker's uniform for the Army. And that's literally the uniform, with the exception of the gold football helmet. That's literally the uniform that Patton describes.
Huh.
It's like it had a row of brass buttons down the front. Of course, the Army rejected it, but it was absolutely beautiful.
Marine Corps Blues. That's the prettiest uniform. Nicest looking uniform.
All right, guys. Well, I certainly appreciate your time, and y'all have a good weekend.
To a lot of people, it's magic. Turn on the tap, clean water comes out, flush the toilet, dirty water goes away. Anything that comes out of somebody's system, whether that's stomach bug, whether that's COVID, all those things are in wastewater.
And then we have to take into account climate change. The infrastructure is not prepared for that.
We know what's going to happen here in 2 hours' time. There's a huge resource disparity.
The irony of it is that there is a sewer system here in this town. But these older black communities don't have access to it.